When we talk about transformation on the spiritual path, we often focus on what we see. New insights, new behaviors, a new sense of self. But underneath all of this, there is something far more subtle and powerful. And that is the way consciousness chooses to configure or create the experience of reality. So today I want to explore the power of choice through three lenses. Carlos Castaneda's assemblage point, the yogic idea of Iccha Shakti, the power of will, and the non-dual understanding that all of this is ultimately the play of the one self, the one consciousness, the one divine self. In Don Juan's teachings, every human being is described as a luminous cocoon of energy. On the surface of that cocoon is a bright spot that Don Juan calls the assemblage point. Where the point rests determines which threads of reality we light up and then call them my world. In simple language, the assemblage point is a metaphor for how our perception stitches together a version of reality and says, this is just the way things are. Moves slightly and entirely different, this is the way things are, comes into view. A new world. For Don Juan, sorcery, or what he calls sorcery, isn't spooky. It's the skill of relocating that point on purpose, shifting perceptions so radically that we can enter different bands of experience, different worlds, without losing our sanity. Sometimes psychedelic experiences can do that too. Okay. You and I know this in a softer way. The same email arrives on a day when your assemblage point is resting in fear and it feels like an attack. On another day, when the point rests in possibility, the same email becomes an invitation or even a joke. Same message, different world. Advaita Vedanta takes a radical step. It says all of these worlds, all of these configurations of perception rise and fall in awareness. You are pure consciousness and not the assemblage point. You're not even the luminous cocoon. You're the field in which the entire display occurs. So from this perspective, the crucial shift is not from one position to another, but from identification to witnessing. From I am this body-mind in this world to I am the awareness in which body, mind, and world arise. The assemblage point, the energy body, the changing states, they're valuable as maps, but they are all maps inside the one reality that you are. So if we borrow Don Juan's language and place it inside Advaita, we might say the assemblage point is a teaching device. It helps us see that our so-called solid reality is actually assembled. But the ultimate recognition is whatever moves, whatever changes is not what I truly am. Now Kashmir Shaivism adds another beautiful layer. It agrees that there is one non-dual reality, Shiva, pure consciousness. But it emphasizes that this one consciousness is inherently dynamic. It vibrates, it pulses. It has Iccha Shakti, the power of will or desire, Gyan Shakti, the power of knowing, and Kriya Shakti, the power of action. In this view, we could say that consciousness doesn't just sit there witnessing, it longs to experience itself in infinite ways. That longing, that deep will to manifest is Iccha Shakti. Somewhere in some of his poems, Rumi says, our longing is the way. Now think of the assemblage point again. Each position of that point is one particular way Shiva, pure awareness, focuses its own power or will to taste a specific universe. Move the point and the taste changes. From fear to freedom, from I can't to I'm guided, from this is meaningless to this is the precise teaching. So where Advaita says you are the screen, not the movie, Shaivism adds, you're also the director, the scriptwriter, and the joy of the movie itself. In Castaneda's world, there's a mysterious force called intent. Intent is what actually makes us perceive. It's the power that moves the assemblage point and assembles a coherent reality. A warrior doesn't create intent, they align with it. They quiet their personal noise so that this deeper current can move them. In yogic language, that current is Iccha Shakti. Iccha means intention. Shakti, divine feminine. And so it's felt as will or desire. But not the usual, I want this, I don't want that. Iccha Shakti is the primordial urge of consciousness to know itself, to evolve, to express, to return home. You can feel the difference in your own life. There is desire that contracts you, grasping, fear-based, restless. And there's desire that expands you, clear, luminous, quietly powerful. The first is personal wanting, the second is Iccha Shakti, shining through a relatively clean system. Intent, in Don Juan's sense, is that second kind of desire. It is will that arises from silence, not from panic. It is a command issued by consciousness itself, the divine self. What then is sorcery in this blended understanding? It is the art of conscious configuration. It is the art of allowing Iccha Shakti to shape your world instead of letting old conditioning drive the assemblage point. Practically, this means three things. First, witnessing, regularly resting as the silent awareness that notices all movements of desire. This is the Advaitic safeguard. Whatever you do with energy and will, you don't forget what you are. Secondly, refining desire, meeting every impulse with curiosity. Is this contraction or is this expansion? Is this my old story replaying or is this a deeper current moving through me? Over time, you become exquisitely sensitive to the texture of Iccha, divine will, intent. You can feel when a choice is supported by life and also when it is fueled by fear. Third, sankalpa, clear sankalpa, which means clear intent. Instead of dozens of scattered wants, you let one or two luminous intentions organize your day. May this body-mind serve clarity and compassion, as an example. Or may this conversation reveal truth and reduce suffering. Spoken from silence, a sankalpa is not a demand. It's a permission slip you give to Iccha Shakti to move you. In Don Juan's language, this is how you conserve energy, become impeccable, and allow intent to move your assemblage point into new bands of reality. In Shaivite terms, Kashmir Shaivism, this is how Shakti's will becomes transparent. In Advaita terms, it is the movie and the director finally admitting that they are nothing but the screen. So let's land this with something you can try today. When you wake up tomorrow, before you touch your phone, sit for a few minutes. Let attention relax back into bare awareness. Notice, even without thoughts, without plans, something is undeniably present, awake, aware. From that stillness, ask inwardly, what do you most deeply want today if this were consciousness itself speaking? Not what your fear wants, not what your habit wants, what life itself wants to do through you in the next 24 hours. Let one simple sentence arise. Hold it in your heart. For me, when I did this yesterday, the words healing, wholeness, and holy came out spontaneously. Healing as the return to the sacred holy self. Then as you move through the day, pause before actions, key actions, and silently remember that sentence. Notice how your perception, your assemblage point, subtly shifts to match the intent you place. At night, sit again in silence and gently offer the entire day back to the same awareness you started from. You might say something like, may all of this be yours. Move me as you will. You're speaking to your own divine self. In that gesture, intent and Iccha Shakti are no longer about control. They become a devotion to clarity, to truth, to love. The universe's own will, recognizing itself and consciously arranging its experience moment by moment. So if this resonates, you might experiment with it for a week and simply watch. What happens to your world when the deepest desire is not how do I get what I want, but how clearly can consciousness move through this life today? Try it. Tattvamasi.